Hello, it's a wonderful evening to all of you, Vloga fam. Kamusta kayo? So, grabe, kinakabahan na nga ako sa ating episode for tonight because it's another talk about moving on. Guys, am I the only victim, Char, of heartbreaks and pain and sighs and tears and sorrows and all the like? Well, if you guys are one of those people who are having troubles with moving on, and moving on has been, it's a really, really hard thing to go through. Welcome to our segment for today. It is our Advice Thursday. So, our Advice Thursdays is a new segment where we ask you, our blogger fam, how you cope with life's many problems. Every week, we'll post a question on Blogapalooza's social media, and the blogger fam with the most interesting or helpful answers can come on every Thursday evening to talk with us. So today's topic and our question for the week is, how do you move on from someone? Di ba? Medyo mabigat na tanong talaga to, guys. Balaga fam, mahirap mag-move on. There's so many questions when you talk about moving on. Have you moved on? Kaya mo ba mag-move on without closure? Kaya mo ba mag-move on with ano bang kailangan natin para mag-move on? So with that, meron din akong guests tonight. We have a guest. We have Vlog Fam joining us tonight for our talk tonight about how do you move on from someone. So let us introduce our first guest, which is Miss Marie Chen. Miss Marie Chen.
Hi, good evening,
Hi,
Vlog of Fam. Good evening,
good
Adrian.
evening.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay.
Ayan.
And yes,
Really?
girl, I'm the only one. Nasaktan din ako.
Oh! Well, I
Been
feel
there,
you.
done
I feel,
that.
I feel you mahirap masaktan, hindi ba? Well, Miss Marie, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And may I know, how many times have you had to move on? Oh, di ba? Fast question na agad tayo ngayon.
Oh my God, nagulat ako dun ah. But how many
Ah,
times?
yes.
Madami, madami-dami. Mm.
Same naman, same naman.
Same naman, pero
W-
ano siya, different circumstances yung pag-move on, Char.
all right, and I can't wait to get to know more of those as we get through our live tonight. All right, thank you, Miss Marie. I'll see you again later. Sending you
See you.
backstage. Mm. Ayan, good evening. Ito na, let's introduce our next guest for tonight, Miss Jane Bautista. Jane!
Hey
Ayan.
guys! Good
Hi!
evening!
How are you feeling right now? Ready ka na ba ulit pag-usapan ang mga pag-move on natin dyan?
Ready na ibuksan ang mga scars na nag-heal na.
Ready na tayo ipakita yon.
Yes.
Ready na ulit. Okay, wow, grabe. So ito naman ang question ko for you na pa dating sagutin mamaya. What was the hardest part of moving on for you? Give me one and then we'll discuss most of it later. Oh, di ba?
Honestly, the most painful one is actually forgetting, the situation, the person.
The
Alam mo
feelings that
yan.
they brought. Totoo. Grabe, girl.
Mm.
Naramdaman ko na agad yun. I'm so excited to bring you all into this one. So, without further ado, I think let's welcome back Miss Marie and let us have our deep conversation. Yes, our hard talks and truth about this episode. So, in our Advice Thursdays, ang tanong and our question for us is, how do you move on from someone? Okay. So, may I know your answers to that? Let's start with Miss Jane muna. Miss Jane, how personally, how do you move on from someone? Mm,
Honestly, I mean, we all know that moving on is a hard thing. It's really a hard thing, especially if
definitely.
it's a traumatic experience. It's hard to move on, and moving on is not only for relationships. It's mostly for friendships and stuff like that. It's not only for ano eh. And honestly, to move on for me, it's not just hanging out with friends, watching movies, focusing on yourself, and like that. It's mostly like accepting that you got hurt, and accepting the situation that you are in, nasaktan ka. Ngayon, you have to give yourself time na magmukmok, magsenti. Kasi that's the most um that's a good thing, kasi you have to give yourself some time to heal. So you have to respect your hurt. You have to respect your sadness. So, just let yourself cry, and then after nun, you can focus on the little percentage of moving on, like hang out with your friends and like that. But you don't need to rush. Walang rush sa pag-move on. Kailangan natin bigyan yung sarili natin ng time na umiyak. And that's moving on for me.
Yun. I mean, I agree with that, don't you think? Na parang you have to feel it, diba? You have
Yeah.
to really feel going through that heartbreak and letting it just flow. Ayun nga,
Yeah.
ako din, I believe in that, how to move around from someone. Pag nasaktan ka, wala tayong magagawa eh. Nasaktan ka,
Yeah.
you've been
It's part
hurt.
of your growth.
Totoo. So, feel it, enjoyin mo na lang siguro. I mean, hindi siya ka-enjoy-enjoy. Pero, try mo na lang matuto ka na sa mga nangyari sa life mo, di ba? Alright. Okay, we'll get back to you in a while, ha? Miss Marie Chen, ikaw ba? How do you move on from someone? Ayan.
Personally, it took me a really long time like to find healthy ways of moving on. Kasi hindi siya mabilis lang, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that. Dati isipin
Exactly.
mo? Isipin mo? Okay, I'm probably just gonna find a replacement, yung mga ganon. Yung just just forget the pain, cover it with something else. But then yun nga, it takes a really long time to find the proper way of moving on. Kasi sa process ng moving on, that's where you're going to realize what you need din eh. What you need as a person, what you need in relationships, what you need in your life. Pero tama, the first thing that you really have to do is accept it. Accept it for what it is. Accept it for what happened and accept that it didn't work out the way you would have wanted to. And para mabilis lang yun sabihin. Pero in most situations, we end up with a lot of questions talaga. Like, oh my God, what happened? Ba't ganyan? Ano ba kinulang ko? And parang yun nga, mahabang usapan. Maybe we could get back to that later.
Yeah.
Acceptance
No,
talaga.
so don't worry, we don't have to go through far so much of that. But ito yung ang ano ko dyan, do. The thing here is, it's not easy, no? Kahit sabihin natin, it is the first step to doing it, acceptance that it has to happen, it had happened and had to happen. It is very difficult for us to feel it. Most of us are scared of the emotion, di ba? So, can you tell me, I'll throw back the question to you, Miss Marie. What were the things that you tried to do to feel it? Kasi what were your challenges in feeling it? Ayan, what were the challenges that you had to face before accepting that, okay, masakit eh. Ano gagawin ko? Oh, di ba?
The biggest challenge yata I had to overcome was trying to stop blaming myself. Kasi
Definitely.
when it ends abruptly and you don't know what happened, what is the only thing you know? You only know yourself. Hindi mo alam ano iniisip ng partner, ng ex mo, ng ex-friends mo, or whatever. You don't know what's happening. So what do you know? You know everything about you. So you think, where did I go wrong? Kulang ba ako? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not hot enough? And all that. So that is,
Yeah.
for me, the biggest challenge na I had to overcome was trying to see it from an outside perspective. Parang, okay, yun yung relasyon. This is what he did, this is what she did. Wala eh. I had to overcome thinking, I had to stop blaming myself muna. Yun yata yung hardest for me.
Wow. Well, that is true. No, it's a default for us to actually blame ourselves and have that self-doubt whenever something ends, whenever something goes wrong for most of us. All right, let's bring that question to Miss Jane Bautista. So, what was the hardest thing for you in moving on?
I think same lang kay Marie eh. I think the problem is that's why we blame ourselves. It's because we're in so much pain, so we hurt ourselves more, you know? And parang automatic na kasi yun sa atin eh, na parang pag nasaktan tayo, saktan na lang natin ulit yung sarili natin para, maging numb na lang tayo. Parang ganon. Tapos hindi natin
Yeah.
alam bakit natin ginagawa yun. And I think that's really hard. Tapos parang mas maapektuhan yung self-esteem mo. Tapos, you just think so low of yourself. Even though, that's the part where you need to know your worth.
Amen.
Girl, if you can't love yourself, how the hell you can love somebody else? Gonna get an amen up in here. Totoo naman yun. Alright. So, on a personal note din naman kasi, when we all go through heartbreaks, ako on my end, ano din, one of the things that I've also felt, especially the first time around, is yung unworthiness, that feeling of like maybe I'm not enough, maybe I could have done better, I could have been. It's quick to blame ourselves for all those wrongdoings. And with what Marie told us, like you have to take yourself away from that situation and look at it at a bigger perspective and a bigger picture para ma-realize mo what really went wrong, to see it for what it is, di ba? Like, ayan, akala mo ang dali-dali nating sabihin ngayon kasi porket naka-move on na, madadaya na 'to. But guys, madadaya na 'to kasi naka-move on na. But if you guys are facing that, it's really quite daunting to get to that phase na parang, I'm worth a lot, I'm worth ganyan. So, let's toss a question to Miss Jane. How did you start figuring out that, how did you work on it? How did you start figuring out that, hey, it's not my fault? How did you work on that? How did you find yourself after you've lost it, after getting broken? Oh.
Well, I think after, after senti mode, after crying it out, I think after that, you will just, you will get tired. You'll just get tired of crying all the time, just tired of blaming yourself all the time. And then you'll just start to question eh. Magki-question ka na parang ito na ba yun? Ito na yung magiging buhay ko? Iyak na lang ako lagi? Parang ganon. Parang, ito na
Mm-hmm.
ba tingin ko sa sarili ko? So, that's where it comes from eh. Doon na magsa-start yung healing. So, parang, doon ka na magsa-start na, okay, I have to pick myself up. Kasi hindi pwedeng ganito lang eh. Kasi nakakapagod umiyak. So, doon eh, doon ka na mag-wonder na parang, okay, ito yung nangyari, ito yung situation, things didn't work out, and that's okay. I'm still alive, I'm still me, I still have myself, okay? Even though I don't have the people that I don't have right now, I still have myself, I'm still alive, I am blessed. So, move forward.
Definitely. Totoo naman yun, di ba? You still have you. You were just
Yeah.
broken and you were never gone. You get to pick yourself up. And that was a good conscious choice on your end, di ba? Parang, why are we gonna stay in a situation where we're just gonna be broken forever? It's a choice.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of these feelings, feeling pity of ourselves, feeling everything, will make us, just wanna say, okay, tama na, enough na.
Yeah.
Magkakaroon ka
Push
talaga ng point
forward.
na tama na, masakit na, okay lang yun. I have to pick myself up, which is a very, very true to case and true to life scenario talaga when people get hurt, diba? Okay. Thank you for that answer, Miss Jane. Now to you, Miss Marie, the same question is applying, pero add on to that, what was the first thing that you did after, like, you got your heart broken and then you cried it out, you felt all the emotions. What was the first thing na parang ginawa mo na parang okay for yourself?
Wait lang, medyo matagal-tagal na. I have to think back to that.
All good,
Sorry.
sige lang. At least
But,
masaya ka na, matagal na.
masaya na matagal na. I think the first thing I did for myself was cutting them off. Like, block everywhere, change your hindi naman change number, but like, erase them totally from your life. Kasi the thing is, mabilis mag-relapse eh. Like, even sa moving on, mabilis mag-relapse na you're like, oh my gosh, I miss this, oh my god, I miss that. Pero paminsan we don't really miss the person. But we miss, like, what we felt at that moment. So I think after that, that was the best thing I did for myself, was just, take myself out of the picture. Just like, close the book, end the chapter, that's it. Kasi you can't just like, okay, magpaganda ako, all that. Kasi kahit magpaganda ka, naiiyak ka pa din eh.
Well,
So I think
yeah.
the best thing I ever did for myself that I was just to, like, cut off.
Yeah, that is that's very true and interesting kasi I like the idea that you had to block him because I also did the same thing. I don't know if most of you also did the same thing, but I just blocked my ex so that I wouldn't see and I wouldn't keep crawling back. Para naman hindi na ako maging marupok dun sa mga I miss
Yes.
you and all those things. Just block. It's for me, I think it's an excusable thing to do. because you've been with that person for a long time and you've known that person for a while. And if you don't block him, automatically you look into his social medias eh. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
you'd like to see how he's going, how it's doing for that person, and you'd be like, does that person have somebody new? Yeah, that's true. So blocking is it's a good thing. I think it is again at your own pace, at your own time when you try to move on. And no one's gonna judge you if you try to have to distance yourself from this person because it hurts so much for you to see this person up close still eh. Because it's still fresh, the wound is still open. And when you just keep it open, the salt will just go there.
Yeah.
All right, grabe. Grabe to us. Bigat na bigat. Like, oh my gosh, Char.
Although minsan ano eh, you think it's closed, pero may mga triggers pa rin. That would just
Yeah,
like, akala mo cut off na completely, and then my probably little demon whispering in his ear and be like, oh, magpapansin ka dyan. So you're just like, relapse.
yeah, exactly. May mga ganun ka pa ring moments eh. So,
Yeah.
parang you really have to take in the time, 'di ba, to get into that like zone of growth. Because these kinds of things are changing our life. So it causes a big ripple in our life. And how did you deal with so again, nandun na tayo sa na-feel na natin siya, ayan, nag-block na tayo, ganyan, and then we try to separate ourselves from that. How did you start rebuilding your life? What were the things that you did na parang, this is for me. Hindi na to about that past life. Hindi na to about that past relationship. So let's go. Bato natin kay Miss Marie muna to. What were the first thing that you did for yourself after the breakup?
The first thing, probably, I visualized what it would feel like yung naka-move on na ako. I visualized what I would feel like, where I would be, like a huge weight, like, lifted off my shoulders. Inimagine ko muna how I would feel like. Because once you know or you have an idea of how good it will be, and then that's something that you would look forward to. So that's something that you would want to feel and you would strive to get there. So once you have that inkling of an idea, that's where you have to take things slow for yourself then. Kasi paminsan in those moments, kahit anong advice sinasabi ng mga tao, you won't listen to
Yeah.
it. Kasi you'll move on or you'll process things when you are ready in your own personal time.
Exactly.
So in those moments, that's where you start to reflect on your life. Kasi yun nga, once you start wondering, ako ba, ganyan, ganyan, and then you start thinking, ay wait, but parang may pattern. Why does this specific thing keep on happening to me? So what I did for myself was nag-reflect talaga ako from my super past and everything.
Yeah.
Actually, something that I give advice to or like I tell, naman my clients or like, yeah, I mean not my clients. I ask them to write parang a storyboard of your life. Of like
Oh, that's
you, yeah, it's a storyboard of like major events of your life and yung age mo. Kasi from that, you can see some patterns. You can see some beliefs forming. And once you're personally aware of that, that's when you can start. Ako personally, I talk to the people that hurt me or that caused my trauma. So that was for me. Kasi from there, I started to process things na ay kaya pala ako ganito because of this, and that.
yeah.
So that's
You
it.
get to be aware of the habits that you form throughout the years
Exactly.
with that. So yan guys, Blogger fam, if you guys are trying to move on from someone, ayan, from our relationship coach here, Miss Richard, she tells us to write a storyboard of something, what happened to your life, all the experiences and lessons that you've learned, para makita mo and we become aware of your own patterns and habits that you've formed along the way. And also you'd understand the habits you formed along with the ex, because there would
Yeah.
be a lot. And there would be unlearning of so many things. Like yung mga nakasanayan mo, yung mga breakfast in bed, yung mga I love yous and I miss yous, grabe, yun ang, ay nako. And the songs, actually, alam mo, one of the things that I also have
Yeah.
trouble with remembering is when you have a certain song that you used to play back in the day, na parang masaya ka, tapos pag narinig mo to, parang, oh my God, I was so happy then, mahal ko pa siya noon. Like, tapos like, bakit ganon? But may feeling pa din. But that's what I also learned. You can never really bury it. You can just be accepting that it's all in the past. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Miss Marie. Now, let's move on to Miss Jane muna and then we'll see about our other comments from our blogger fam. Ha? Okay, Miss Jane. So can you tell us like what was the first thing that you did for yourself after the breakup?
After, um, I did a specific thing when I broke up with my friends in the past, um, because it was a blur, and of course, past, alam niyo na. um,
Yeah.
I think the first thing that I did was I did the things that I couldn't do in that certain relationships. Binawi ko lahat, as in from my friends to spending time with myself kasi inaalala ko sila eh. Ganyan, I spent time with them. And then I focused on myself, and then inalagaan ko yung sarili ko kasi masakit, eh, ang sakit nung masakit yung ginawa nila, eh, masakit yung iniwan nila. And then kasi parang it's unfair, you know, it's unfair to look at them na masaya sila tapos ako iyak-iyak lang dito sa gilid, ganyan. Na parang okay, so I took the pain. Ngayon ako naman babawi sa sarili ko kasi wala namang mag-aayos, eh. Wala namang mag-aayos sa'kin kundi ako, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, you're responsible for yourself. So, you know, kung walang mag-aalaga sa'kin, ako na lang, you know? Mas kaya ko pang alagaan yung sarili ko, mas kaya ko pang mahalin kasi no one knows anyone, you know, walang nakakaalam ng better kundi ako lang.
Totoo.
Amen.
You can, and nobody can love you the hardest than
Yeah,
you.
like you love
Honestly.
yourself.
Yes, like it is the hardest job to do to love yourself then, but it is the most you're the only one who knows yourself so
It's the
much
most
too when you go
rewarding part.
through. Exactly. When you reach that point na parang, okay, masaya na ako sa sarili ko. I'm happy. I may be hurt before. I may be, in pain, broken, bruised, and whatever. Pero nandito ako ngayon. I'm
Yeah.
standing up. 'Di ba? Oh, grabe.
Yeah.
I love it. You guys are very inspirational with all this. I am learning a lot of things from both of you. And so before that, mag-ano muna ako, mag-interject ako ng something because I just want to say another thing. I did one of those things that you made us do, yung storyboard kay Myri. What I did because when, of course, you would have those moments where you want to go back to your ex, diba? You're like, maybe I can't find someone enough, someone that would fit me, someone who could love me the way my ex would do. And then, you know what? One of the exercises I did was write the things that you think that's good for the both of you when you're still with him, the good things, and write the negative things too, to
Pros
keep
and
you in
cons.
perspective. Yes, the pros and cons, to write,
Yeah.
to see if it is really something that you still want for yourself in the future, because that
Yeah.
is the hard part, to choose yourself in this battle. Oh,
Yeah.
grabe,
No,
mga ano
kasi
natin dyan.
humans kasi as tao, we are creatures of habit. Mabilis
Mhm.
like that's why it's so hard to learn a new habit. That's why it's so hard to move on. Kasi we got used to that person na. We got used to, yung nga sabi mo, breakfast in bed, like, those
Yeah,
romantic sex and all that. We get used to that. So kaya during move on, we end up thinking na, what if I'm never gonna get that again? That's why it's
Yeah.
so hard
exactly.
to start a habit. So hard to start working out, eating healthy. Like, it's so hard to start new habits because we're so used to our own personal habits that we already have. So basically, moving on is medyo parang breaking a habit din. Breaking a very bad habit. So
Very
kaya
much so.
we end up thinking
And
talaga na, I'm not gonna find anything like that. What if I'm not gonna meet someone like that? Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
oh, that is true. That is okay. That is so true. Like the toxicity of that habit. But
yeah.
before we go move on to the other parts of our topic, I just want to see. I'm really interested to know what our Blogger fam has to say with all our discussion right now. So let's flash some comments here on screen. Grabe nakaka-trigger na topic. Yes, Miss Anne, it is
We're
very
sorry.
triggering. And Miss Aria Joy Cruz said, yes, acceptance. It takes time to heal. Again, we've gone through that. Totoo. And ito, Miss Mel Donata said, minsan the brain wants to forget but the heart remembers. Ay, 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 totoo naman yan. Know your worth and your place in someone's heart with Miss Anne
Yes.
Marjorie.
That's correct.
True. Know your worth, diba? If you know your worth, assert it. It really hurts, pero laban. Yes, it really hurts. Nagmamahal na to. Okay. Akala mo mismo yung person, pero yung feeling lang pala. True enough. Totoo yan. Totoo yan. Amen to that. Totoo naman talaga, guys. Yung mga pinagsasabi natin, vlog fam, very relatable. Huwag mong gawing mundo yung tao. Guys, I
Yeah.
love it. Grabe. Ang ingay ng comment section natin on this. Ang totoo yan. Maraming nakaka-relate sa pag-move on sa atin. Di ba? Okay. So, wait lang mga vlogger fam, balikan natin ang mga comments dyan in a while, but I wanna know, sige, so ang dami natin na pag-usapan with the process of breaking up from feeling the emotions, knowing how you started. Now, I want you guys to help us understand. Can you walk us through your own breakup process? Kasi, di ba, everything is different from every person, di ba? So, ano yung process mo? Para bago di kayo mahiya, ano na yun ako, gusto ko yung mag-share dyan. Ang akin is, I wrote it down. Yun. Sinulat ko
Wow.
ang hinanakit ko sa puso. I wrote a poem. Tapos tama, ginawa ko din yung ginawa ni Jane. I went out there. I I met a lot of people and all that. Talagang ano, I enjoyed my life in I had to make new habits, try new hobbies, do a lot of things for myself. And then yun, nag-ano na ako, doon na from then on nagsimula na ako, but I was very vocal with moving on. Like sabi ko, ito nararamdaman ko, I'm hurt, I'm in ganyan. Because
Yes.
that's how I deal with the whole that. So ayan, I'm so excited to hear. Can you walk us through, Miss Jane Muna, can you walk us through your own breakup process? Ayan.
Well,
Gusto ko,
well,
go.
ayun, after crying, after, breaking the habits, after accepting the situation, um, actually tama yung sinabi mo, Adrian, eh, na you also have to be vocal, don't keep it all inside, don't bottle it up inside, kasi mas ikikimkimin mo, eh, ikaw lang nakakaramdam. You really have to say it na parang, "Oh my God, nasasaktan ako. Oh my God, naaalala ko pa rin. Oh my God, ganito, ganyan, ganyan." To your friends, to your family, you really have to be vocal about it. Kasi it's your own of expressing it, eh. And then the more you express it, the more na mawawala, eh, na parang, okay, parang one day masabi mo na lang na, hindi ko na siya naiisip, hindi ko na name-mention, 'di ba?
Yes.
So parang ayun na, eh, andun na magsa-start. So yeah, after crying, after breaking the habits, after focusing on myself, um, yeah, I think that's a whole process about it.
And yun na yun eh. Like, when you focus on yourself, nandun na yung mga micro things that you had to go
Yeah.
through, di ba? And it's really ano. So, yeah, thank you for sharing those. Totoo, I resonate with both of you in moving on. High five. Cheers sa mga naka-move on na dyan. Sa mga hindi pa, try natin mag-move on, guys. Kaya natin to. All right, let's have Miss Marie Chen. Can you walk us through your own breakup process?
Uh, if we're speaking of like literal breakup, it's not that drama. Di naman siya, wala siyang process kasi before the relationship ended, I was over na. Like, alam mo yun, di pa tapos
Mm-hmm.
yung relationship, you're just done, you're just waiting for the moment. So, yun. But the hardest moving on process I had to go through was one that actually wasn't a relationship. Gets.
Yeah.
Parang,
Parang
parang
fling.
yeah, parang relationship, everything that a relationship has without the label. Parang ganun.
Oh my God,
And
that's a little hard.
yeah, that's really hard kasi the first question that goes in your mind is, do I have to move on ba talaga? Is there something to move on from?
Yeah.
Parang ganun. So like you being vocal, I got into spoken poetry, like dun ko nilabas lahat.
Cheers!
Yes,
Cheers! High
Yes.
five! I did that too. Okay.
the year na sobrang at its peak pa, 2016. 2016, 2017 was the year spoken poetry was at its peak. Like, I got into
Yeah.
it. I cut my hair, basically cut it, dye it, styled it, whatever. And that I also did I started doing things that I couldn't do when I was in that, hindi naman siya relationship. When I was in that arrangement, I don't know what to call it until now. Pero yun, like, you just have to, kasi, like, you know your worth, you know everything, like, you know what you deserve, but then just at that moment, you don't know where to place yourself. Like, hindi mo alam kung saan ka lulugar. Like, is this my
Yes.
responsibility? Like,
Yeah.
am I this? Am I supposed to
Mm.
do that? So yun yata yung pinaka-struggle. Then when it broke up, hindi naman sa-break up, parang ghosting. Nawala.
Oh my goodness.
Parang,
Nawala na lang.
Okay.
that was so hard na parang, okay, is it, tapos na ba? Like, what do I do? Kaya nag-stop and forward lang ako, sumigaw ako, uwi ako. And, after that, I started going out, started doing more things for myself. And just
Yeah.
Yeah.
realized, tapos alam mo yun, mag-ghost, tapos babalik. And then you have that
Ah,
Ay,
moment.
that's
toxic.
a no-no.
Be-
Then
wag na.
remember, parang I went through all that. I'm gonna go through that again. Ayoko na. But you're just,
Yeah.
it's not parang you're finally moved on, but then you're tired. Parang
Yeah.
you don't want to go through that same thing,
Mm.
same ordeal over and over again. And you're just like, you
Mm.
know what? Bye-bye. Block.
Exact. Totoo.
Queen!
Tapos na. I love that. You had so much strength in that. Kasi honestly, the people sometimes will hook you in and they'll keep you around just so that it's convenient for them to have you there, diba? All right.
Literally.
So, totoo. So me, I have another I have a few sets of questions here. Okay, in my head, these are the questions that I've had. We share and express the same thing. Most of it, we had it, we expressed it, and you said that you worked on yourself. So that's the general theme of how we move on. Yes, we all know that na parang moving on is really just an internal process that you have to go through. So a question here would be is first is how do you move on from an ex who moved on super quickly? Paano ba 'yon? Paano mo ba iisipin na hindi hindi mo kasalanan 'yon or whatever, but paano ka nga mag-move on from someone na okay na parang katulad ni Basha na hindi sumunod sa 3-month rule. Oh, 'di ba?
Mm.
Basha 3 months 'yon. So anong gagawin natin do'n? So Miss Jane, let's have you answer this one. How would you deal with that? How do you move on from an ex who moved on quickly?
Well, I experienced like I experienced someone na hindi pa tapos naka-move on na. So so that's more complicated. Kasi
Oh, girl.
I found out about it late na. So tapos na before ko malaman. So medyo that was real tough for me kasi parang what happened? And then for that, I think that's going to hit you even harder kasi parang it's unfair eh. Parang if yung pag tinignan mo from the past like parang ano nangyari? Masaya naman tayo. Masaya naman, wala namang masyadong problema. You know, na parang anong nangyari?
Na-blindside ka na lang.
Tapos parang, ayun na lang, wala na, tapos na. Tapos makikita mo na lang, naka-move on na, masaya na siya without you, na parang, "Ha? Wait lang, ang bilis!" Parang gano'n. So parang masakit
Initsapuera
'yun
na
eh.
lang.
Yeah, parang
Gano'n.
parang ano mo 'yun, parang wala ba tayong pinagsamahan? Parang gano'n. So parang I think that's going to hit more harder. So I think moving on is I can't really give an answer kasi 'pag gano'n yung iba yung feeling eh, mas masakit eh. So
Mas
parang hindi
mabigat. Mas
yeah, mas
mabigat.
mabigat eh. So parang I think kung gano'n, I think what I did, like I just trust my own process, you know? Like hindi ako nakinig sa mga tao na, "Hoy, ang tagal na niyan, mag-move on ka na. Hoy, masaya na 'to, oh, hindi ka pa ba magmo-move on, siya masaya na, ikaw." Parang gano'n. Hindi na ako nakikinig kasi I know myself, I know my heart. Hindi niya kinaya. So, pagbibigyan ko siya eh, pagpapahingahin ko siya eh. Kasi, you know, if
Ah.
you rush it, walang mangyayari. Mas masasaktan ka ng masasaktan eh. Maaalala mo eh. So, I think that's it.
Totoo. I love that. Isang quotable quote natin from Miss Jane is trust your own process. Grabe yun. I love that. Thank you so much, Miss Jane, for that. Oh, grabe yun. Trust your own process. Ha, totoo. Trust your own process, guys. You have your own, and it's your own heart. You know how to deal with it. Trust it. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Let's have Miss Marie Chen. How do you move on from someone who moved on super quickly? Mm.
Actually, I agree with Jane na mas masakit kung may another involved. There's another that's involved. Kasi kung
Yes.
ganun, if there's another involved, then you start asking yourself, like, what did I do wrong? Or is there something that I didn't do? Or like, yung mga ganun. And it's really hard to think logically in those moments. Kasi, wala your emotions are heightened. All you feel is pain. All you feel is betrayal. So, alam mo yung non-stop na iyak ka na lang. And
Yeah.
at that moment, that's what you need to do. Kasi the more you resist it or the more you try to smother that pain, it's
Yeah.
just gonna keep coming
Mm.
up and eventually it's gonna explode in your
Mm.
face. And
Mm.
sobrang sakit, like it's gonna take time. Mabilis sabihin na just take it, accept it.
Yeah.
Sobrang but it really hurts, especially pag alam mo, nakikita mo, or if
Yeah.
especially it's been going a long time na hindi mo alam ng lahat na ikaw na yung huli nakaalam.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then you just start questioning your worth. Like, tanga-tanga ko ba? Ba't di ko alam? And then you have all
Ah,
these questions piled up that you never get to answer. So yung ginawa ko
definitely.
sinulat ko, all those questions I had, I wrote it down. Yung mga masagot ko, nasagot ko. Yung iba, there's nothing we could do about it. Parang nga sabi kanina, trust the process. His healing time might be faster, but my healing time takes shitload of time. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we heal at our own pace. You do what you do. Kung naka-heal ka dyan, okay, good for you. Ako, hindi.
Mm.
Totoo.
Bahala ka dyan. But
Yeah.
that's really easy to say.
Mhm.
True. Okay, I have the same issue. Like, sabi ko nga, yung pag may third party is the hardest. Girls, oh, girl, talaga. Mine, I figured it out the day before my birthday that my ex had someone. Yeah, girl. And then I was like, ah, oh, ouch. Ouch. Aray. And then,
Ayan.
so, eto si Tanga, I asked that person pa, so what do you want us to do? And he didn't answer. No answer. So sabi ko, eh di wala.
Yay!
Wala nang mangyayari. So I had to go. Sabi ko, I am not gonna stay with someone who's unsure of me. And that's the most
Yeah.
power move I've ever done in my life because I choose
Yeah,
Girl,
that's
myself.
right.
I wish I
Yeah,
was
I
that strong nun. Ang galing.
no, yeah, a day before my birthday talaga yon, and it was so crazy. And then that day was I had that event with my closest friends, and we all had dinner, and I was like, oh, cheers. Oh, by the way, guys, I'm single. And everybody was like, and then everybody like, okay, we're going out, we're gonna go to drink, and we did island and everything. So again, it's a different process. And now this person though, the reason on our final question for tonight, I guess, would be um what were like your monumental moment that you've actually moved on na? Ayan. You knew that you're fine, you're happy, and you've moved on. Like, okay na. Sige, para hindi kayo ma-pressure, mag-isip muna kayo dyan. I want to share mine. I wrote spoken word poetry then. I was in fully booked writing down poetry, and I was like, okay,
Wow!
what do I feel right now? Sabi ko. And then I realized, sabi ko, at the end of the poem, nasulat ko na siya. I didn't even know. I didn't have a title for the poem. I didn't have anything. I just went and wrote it down. And it was saying utter. The title is utter. And the process of the poem was I tried to utter the word I want to be happy. I get to say the word I want to be happy. And at the end of the poem was this, I am finally happy. So it really made me feel like finally it's so long. It took a while. It took a wild turn in my life before I could have finally said finally happy, right? Like it's really difficult to go through a heartbreak, and nobody should take it lightly. And whatever
Mhm.
you're feeling, your emotions are valid, so let it flow, let it come out. It's fine. And again, sabi nga ni Miss Jane, it's your own process. Nobody has to force
Yeah.
you to
Yeah.
move on quickly. Kahit mabilis siya mag-move on, it's on him, not on you. That person is gone with your life already. Okay. Um, After this question, so let's see what's your monumental moment. I do have another question for you coming up before that. So come on, let's have your question. What was your monumental moment that you realized that you've already moved on? Miss Marie.
When I finally said no. Kasi, like I said earlier na there was no label
Yeah.
or whatsoever. So there was this moment, alam mo yung pag bumabalik, like, okay, it's for my convenience naman din. Alam mo, it's basically just using each other na lang, that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
yeah.
then at that moment, I realized that I finally said no. Like, oh, you want to go for coffee later? No. So para at
Mm-mm.
that moment, I was like, okay, so I regained my power. I did that. And then actually, like you din, I actually made a poet. I made a poem din. Hindi siya, medyo near utter, pero more on stuttering siya. Kasi the logic of that poem was when you repeat a word over and over again, you take
Yeah.
the meaning of that word.
Yeah.
Parang
Exactly.
ganyan.
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes away.
Yeah, so I just, like, in that poem, it was just that first struggling to mention his name until eventually saying it again and again and again and again until
Without
Wala na.
there was no power,
Wala
no
na.
feeling, no anything. Yeah. So that was
yes.
probably one of the monumental moments na I realized that I have moved on. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm happy for you for that. That is a powerful moment. That is a very powerful moment.
Yeah.
I love it. What about you, Miss Jane? What is your monumental I have moved on moment?
I think the most monumental one was, oh yeah, also spoken poetry. But I think for me, yes, but
Yes, sisters.
yeah, ang sarap sa feeling yung magsa-spoken poetry ka, tapos yung isisigaw mo tapos
yeah,
after nun parang, wow, refresh, okay na,
Yeah.
ganon. 'Di ba? Tapos but for me, I think it's mostly peace, like you can sleep well at night. You can go out na, you can scroll on social media. If maano mo yung post, wala lang, okay, you're just a stranger now. I'm fine, And kapag lumitaw man yung messages or likes, magpapa-sweetums man yung person from the past, it's okay, you don't mind them anymore. Na parang,
yes.
finally, I'm at peace with myself. I'm contented. I'm good. I'm good.
I love that. Powerful, powerful. No? Having your own peace, your inner peace being undisturbed by the outer forces of this world. That is wonderful. I have had so much fun with you guys tonight. But let's ask our final question for tonight. Okay, can we have it? What's your take on closures? Ano ba ang proper closure? Ayan, medyo maganda tong tanong na to. So, you
Mm-mm.
answer this you what is proper closure for you? Sige, let's go to Miss Shane again. Miss Shane, what is proper closure for you?
I think closure is really different from other people. There's closure na okay, mag-usap na kayo, okay na 'yon. Pag nakapag-usap na kayo, okay na. Pero you don't discuss, what you feel, na parang hindi ka pa ayos pero nag-usap na kayo so parang tapos na. May
Yeah.
ganung closure. May closure naman na nakapag-usap kayo and then you deal with each other's emotions, na parang, ito yung pinaramdam mo sa akin, ganyan. Ito yung nasaktan mo ko and like that. But now I'm okay, like that. So, I think the best closure, the proper closure na hindi lang usap na parang napag-usapan yung okay na yun, parang ganon. I think that's not closure for me Kasi meron ka pang naiiwan na sugat may bukas pa dun hindi pa natatahi yun.
Totoo.
So, kailangan mong ayusin yun. Kasi kung hindi, bubuka yan ng bubuka So, parang dudugo uli siya, sasakit ulit. So, I think the proper closure is really, closing that wound, na parang, okay, we talked about it. It's clear now. I'm okay with myself as well. And you're okay with yourself. Now we're good. Now we move on. We move on with our lives. I think that's closure. And yung masaya na kayong dalawa, okay na. You know?
Yeah. And hindi na nakaka-affect sa'yo kung ano pa yung nangyayari
Yeah.
doon. It's not gonna
Mm.
wish for you to come back. And
Mhm.
yeah, very true, very true. It's very different for people. Totoo naman yun. Ako daw, a little take on that, ako din is, you're the one who gives closure to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the one who gets to close the door. Kasi
Mhm.
you're the one who's in control, who gets to hurt you. 'Di ba? You give the power to the people who gets to hurt you. I love this. This is such a cool conversation. It's such a deep one. Thank you so much. Okay, Miss Marie, for you, what is closure and what is proper closure?
I don't think na there's alam mo yun, fixed definition for proper closure. Kasi like what
Yeah.
Jane said, it really depends on the person. And
Mhm.
paminsan in those moments, that's when you have to ask yourself, like, what do I need? What's the type of closure that I need? Pero in those moments na emotional ka, I want to talk to him, I want to know what
Mhm.
happened. And they think that talking to the person is like a
It's
magic fan.
closure.
Tapos,
Yeah.
okay. Hindi
Mm.
ganun. Kasi for closure, for me, probably proper closure is when you finally see yun nga, in relationship from an outside perspective. Saan nagkamali? What were the things that weren't communicated in the relationship? What of my needs that weren't met? Pag naging aware ka na dun and you finally realize and like 100% aware of what happened, yun na yung closure mo. Kasi the more you keep wondering, like, I need to talk to him, I need to find out what he's thinking, you won't know that
Mhm.
talaga. Especially pag na-damage yung trust. Kasi once you talk, you'll just keep on doubting everything he says. For everything
Yeah.
they say. So kahit anong gawin mo na pag-usapan niya, wala. Nandun yung doubt. Wala na yung trust. So you're only hurting yourself more by continuing or by pursuing that person, even if it's just to answer questions. Kasi change is the only thing na constant. Change is the only constant thing in life. And the more we
Yes.
resist change, we're just hurting ourselves. Like, so yun. Yun lang
True.
for me. That's closure for me.
Very, very powerful, very strong, empowered ladies you've got here tonight. That is very, very true. You have the power to take it, control it, and own it. I love it, guys. Thank you so much. So before we end, I just want to see more comments from our blog of family. Let's see what they think about our amazing discussion. Ayan. So si Miss Janine said, solo traveling helped me to move on, made me realize that I don't need a man.
Yeah.
Same, I did the same thing.
That's
Solo travel din ako. Eto pa, if you can survive for a day without that person, eventually that day turns into a week into months, then magugulat ka na lang naka-move
mm,
on.
yes.
Amen. Trust the process nga. Ayan, from Georgette, wag mo na pumasok ulit sa relationship when you're broken pa. Mas masasaktan ka lang and tendency masasaktan mo pa yung person. Totoo guys,
Yeah.
don't rush
Mm-mm.
yourselves into relationships. Tama yon. Miss Danny yan. Miss Danny, moving on from breakthrough or moving on, but one breakthrough for me was realizing that the person who I loved and the person who hurt me were the same person, and that person is not worth any more of my time. Dude, yes, so true. Grabe, no? It's the least we expect to hurt us, the one that hurts us the most. And with all that, guys,
On the power.
grabe.
Parang we're vulnerable. They know everything about us and they know how to hurt. So,
Mhm.
Exactly. We gave them the power.
yes,
Mhm. Yeah.
moving on, it's an opportunity to take that power back. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
relationship, they've given my 50%. Now I want it back. Do my money.
Mm.
All right, that was amazing, guys. Thank you. Let's take back the power. We have the power to take it back. And you see these beautiful ladies now. They're happy, they're free, and their inner peace is intact. Just like us. Oh, we all, ito yan, kaya natin lahat yan. But before we go, I would want to have you guys, your final messages to our people who are moving on. And then tell us where we could follow you. So, Miss Jane, take it away. Tell us where we could follow you and your message for everyone who's moving on out there.
Okay, so from everyone who is moving on, I know that it is really hard, but just trust your process. Take our advice if with a grain of salt. It is not a requirement for you to follow everything. It is your own process. And if you want to check me out, I am at Baldi Official on Instagram, and my podcast is Yes Ma'am, That's Me.
Yay! Thank you, Miss Jane. All right, let's have Miss Marie. Miss Marie tell us a message for people who's moving on and also where we could follow you?
Hi guys. So moving on is a really, really, really hard process. Like there's no specific time period for you. Like I have to get this done by next week. No, it's not that easy. But for people who felt like your self worth was damaged during that process, a little tip is you can write 3 things you love about yourself every morning. It shouldn't be the same. Or write an affirmation. Like, I am worth it. Write an affirmation, put it in the mirror, and every day remind yourself that you are worth the world. And if you want to follow me or even just send me a message if you have any questions, it's on Instagram. It's Marie Chen with an X, Marie Chen X. And I hope I'll see you there.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I was just so awesome. See, we have a lot in common right now. I'm so happy. You guys are spoken word poets as well. You do that. And Jane, I do also have a podcast, so I hope we could have an episode together. That would be so much fun.
I
Okay.
hope so.
Okay. This is this is such an amazing episode. I've had so much fun with you guys talking with you all about those moving on. And thank you for giving your time tonight. I really, really appreciate your time and energy for sharing with us, Blogger fam, what's going on and how to move on. Ayun, di ba? But before we end all of this, again, thank you, Blogger fam. I know it's hard when it's painful and when change comes into your life, but you know, you can do it. You can take the power. You can own it. You can save your inner peace from all of that. And before we end, just don't forget we also have our Vlogger Live featuring Recreate on Friday, which is tomorrow. So I'll see you guys there. I hope you join us for another Vlogger Nap. And with all that, I want to say goodbye, Vlogger fam, and thank you for joining us on our Advice Thursdays. And see you next week.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye, guys.